Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack. This is David, bringing you another first-person video Masters League quest of Justifier. This is the series where you watch me attempt to get into the Masters League from the view of me playing the game in first person, something that you probably won't find in many other places. Gonna try and fill this niche for you because it seems to be exactly what you guys want. And do know, obviously, like I said in the last video, I have read all of your comments, and my next video after this should be a strategy video because that is of course the second most requested video type that I provide here at the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack. Now, before I complain too much about the map we're playing on here, which is Slag Pits, I do want to apologize first for the long loading time. My opponent seemed to be quite laggy there. But anyways, what I want to say is that I do fully intend on cancelling this map, and so you probably aren't going to be seeing a whole lot of games on here after this one, simply because I hate this. Like I said in the last video, the main problem with this map is that if you spawn in close positions, you're about 10 seconds away from your opponent's base. It just encourages all-ins, it encourages cheese, it encourages unskilled, non-macro-like gameplay, as you saw in my last cast, which I suggest you watch just so you have a really good idea of what I'm talking about here. And in that game, I was the perpetrator, so that's just showing you exactly how I feel about this game on this particular map. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, what if you spawn in, cross positions or close positions by air? Isn't the map okay then? Well, you know what? It's not, and I'm going to tell you exactly why right now. This map has expansion nodes that are impossible to take because they're so far away from your base. As you can see here, the closest node to me is going to be that node right at the 11 o'clock position. And that's a gold base, just so you know. And my Zerg opponent, as you're going to see here, spawns right in the close position by air. So that node is instantly off limits. There's no way I can take that because of how powerful his mutalisk harassment is going to be on that base, should I decide to take it. The only other option is taking an expansion around where my SCV is scouting right now, over at the 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock positions. But look at how far away that is from my main. It's really going to be hard to mobilize my forces over there to defend that. So really, this map encourages two-base play in pretty much all except one position, which is if I spawn at the top and he spawns at the bottom. But even then I don't like the map because of how awkward it is to launch an assault. You have to go through the middle, which is entirely wide open, up onto high ground where your opponent's going to have the advantage. And it's either that or you push through extremely narrow choke points with smoke surrounding everything. So I don't like this map at all. I hate it. And, I wish I didn't play on this map 5 times in a row in my last ladder games, but it's what happened, so this is all I have for you right now. I promise that my next game won't be here, though. Really, not digging this map, that's for sure. Anyways, enough complaints. Some of you did want some map analysis, so maybe that's something I'll add in at the start of my games from now on. I'm going to be walling off here with a depot and a factory to fill that void. This is just a more stable wall against Baneling busts, should they try to do that on you. As you can see, my SCV has now scouted his base, and luckily for me, the supply depot comes up just in time to deny his scout from seeing anything. Of course, he sees the factory, so he knows it's not going to be a really fast expansion. And I just go look at the spawning pool, and I see, okay, looks like it's a speed first build. Oh, sorry. Whoa, I don't know what happened to my voice there, but it's a speed first build, and the reason I know that is because, of course, he's on one base and his spawning pool is quivering, which means he's researching metabolic boost. And what's great against speedlings, it's blue flame hellions. Of course, if they tech to roaches, those blue flame hellions aren't as useful. But for now, I'm going to be going for the blue flamers. So as you can see, I added on the tech lab to my barracks while my factory was building so I could swap them up and just produce that upgrade a little bit faster than normal. As you can see, it lines up quite nicely there. I am lacking a bit in the minerals department, however, because I'm going to be throwing out an expansion at this point. I want to take that expansion around the same time as my opponent, and getting Hellions out and then expanding is very powerful, simply because the Hellions allow you to put pressure on your opponent, which obviously distracts them from your base. So just a little bit of mechanical knowledge for some of you lower level players out there who are trying to learn the basics. And by the way, if you guys have a specific question that you really want me to answer, I suggest you send me a PM if you want an extremely fast answer, because I'm generally pretty decent with answering those. Okay, and oh yes, one more thing I want to address before I continue here. Some of you, or quite a few of you, have been asking about the black screen of death and why that occurs. That is caused by incompatibilities between Fraps, which is the program I use to record my games, and Sony Vegas 10, which is what I use to render the videos. So basically it's out of my control. I've been looking for a fix. There doesn't seem to be one. I have ways that I can reduce the likelihood of it happening by pre-watching it. I can see in advance if there are black screens, but generally speaking it's pretty unpredictable whether it's going to happen or not. So I really apologize if it does happen, and if anyone knows how to fix it, like I said, hit me up with a PM, because I am just as anxious to stop it as you are, trust me. So anyways, aside from that, we're going to be throwing up an armory here as well as 2 additional factories, because I'm going to be going for Mech here. That's right, folks, you heard me right. And the reason I'm going for Mech is because I wanted redemption after I failed with Mech against that slightly favored Zerg in episode 4, I believe, of my Masters League quest. Now, what I'm going to do differently this time is scan for his hive. The problem that Mech has, like I said in that last cast, is dealing with Broodlords. Broodlords can't come out until you see a Greater Spire, which follows a hive. So scan for the hive, and when you see the hive, you can throw up some starports. As I'm trying to roast a few drones here, didn't get nearly as many as I wanted, but still did some damage. And anyways, what you're going to want to do with those starports, or what I think you're going to want to do, I haven't actually put this into effect yet, this is just me thinking out loud here, is you're going to go for battle cruisers. And the reason for that is because the only way he's going to deal with that is getting corruptors. Now, imagine if you went Vikings instead to deal with those Broodlords. What's going to happen? Well, he's going to then go and he's already got the tech for corruptors, so he can get all those and kill your Vikings. But he can also do an even more insidious strategy, which is just abandoning Broodlord tech and going to Ultras. Then all your Vikings are worthless, and you will have a bunch of useless units. Your army is less efficient than his, and he's going to steamroll you with those Ultras. Now, imagine we go for battle cruisers. Different situation entirely. If he goes for Ultras after Broodlords, and you've tech to battle cruisers without him knowing, he's dead. There's no way he can stop that. The battle cruisers can't be hit by ground, obviously, so you're going to rip through his Ultras extremely fast. Now, you might be wondering, well, what are you going to do against corruptors? They deal extra damage versus massive, don't they? Yeah, you're right, they do. Absolutely. But your battle cruisers with Yamato cannon can easily snipe the corruptors with Thor support, attacking them, and then all that's left are Broodlords, and you have air-to-air damage that he cannot touch anymore. So that's my basic strategy. Like I said, it's just me thinking out loud, so I'll be sure to let you guys know how that works out once I actually try it. I'll be sure to get some footage of that up here too. It's going to be extremely powerful once the new patch comes out, which seems to be geared up to give battle cruisers an increase to their movement speed. So that should make them much easier to kite things or to just escape in general and to get to the battle. Going to speed up your rush quite a bit. I have to admit, Terran Tier 3 was extremely weak, so I like the fact that they're buffing it. Should really help to make it so Terran doesn't have to stay on these lower tier units the whole game to be competitive. I'm also going to be scanning him again. I just want to see the timing of his lair, and yeah, so once I see the lair, I know it's time to get some Thors, so that's what I'll be doing here. And I'm also going to be throwing up missile turrets at the same time, so we've got one Thor out here, and another one should be popping relatively soon as well. Of course, I did get the armory in advance, and that's already researched the the +1 weapons upgrade. So yeah, I've already got nice upgrades on my units, so it's going to really help. So as you can see, the ratio I've elected to go for here on my add-ons, that is, I'm going to be going for 2 tech labs and 1 reactor for my factories. I like this. It allows me to really dump my minerals into Hellions, which are not as bad as oh my god, I'm sorry guys. Casting at night is not the greatest thing. But Hellions are actually pretty decent versus roaches, I've found. They obviously are terrible in one-on-one. But what they do is they tank the damage for your real powerhouse units like the siege tanks and the Thors, which is going to be coming up right about now to deal with those mutas. You're going to see exactly how powerful this is. He leaves immediately when he sees the Thors because he knows there's really nothing he can do. And this is something I'm going to harp on for a little bit right now that I think is very, very important. What I've noticed when I've played this game against Zerg, Terran versus Zerg, one Thor held at each base actually does a pretty much exemplary job of holding off mutalisk harassment if you have 1 or 2 turrets there. And the reason is because you don't have to move your army back to deal with the mutalisks. When you go for Marines and tanks, you generally see the Marines stimming all around the map to try and get back in time to deal with the mutalisk harass, because the turrets alone simply aren't enough. With Thors, that's not the case. The Thor can just sit there like static defense and deal massive splash damage, which you see right there, to his mutalisk ball. And I just love it. You can actually just sit at your base and do nothing and be completely protected against his mutalisk harassment. It's something I really suggest you Terran players out there try and focus on, because I found it very effective. It's helped my gameplay so much, and with this I feel very confident versus any Zerg now, and that used to be my least favorite matchup at one point. As you can see, I'm continuing to be active with my Hellions because I just don't want him to feel safe. And I'm going to snipe that Queen before pulling back. You'll notice my Hellions are actually faster than his mutalisks, and I can just bring Thors up here to take out his mutas if he does get a little too greedy with them. As you can see, he loses one right there, and I already have Thor positioned up here at my main base, so he can just come over here and deal with those mutas. The turrets are just there to stall. And as you can see, he just loses a large amount of units there because the Thors deal massive amounts of splash damage to light units. So this is really starting to show you now, hopefully, just how powerful the static defense Thor idea can be, as I'm going to be taking that 3rd base that is so far away. Yeah, like I said, I don't like this map. That's way too far for a 3rd. I really like the new map, Terminus Re, which you can take a 3rd base extremely easily on. Now, along with the timing of my 3rd, is going to be the timing of my 4th factory. Once you have 3 bases, you can support 4 factories quite easily. You're going to have no troubles whatsoever, so I'm going to be throwing that down and get a tech lab on it afterwards, because that's probably the best composition you can go for. Because in the late game, you're really going to want more tanks and Thors than Hellions. Also be scanning and take out all these creep tumors. And I siege up some of my tanks, well, most of them anyways, just in case he tries to counterattack with roaches in the back door. I have some defense against it. And like I said, keeping a Thor at your main is going to help so much here. Look at this. He can't go into the main because of that Thor, and these Thors, one of them is eventually going to be positioned at the natural here. And whoa, that's a bunch of damage he just took there from 3 volleys. So I should put 1 Thor at the natural, and I think that's the one that I designated. As his mutas fly by, he should have picked that SCV off, no question. Big mistake by my Zerg player, Zerg opponent there. So do that if you're Zerg. Also be moving ever forward and try and take out those creep tumors. Not only does it reduce their speed, but it also makes it so they don't have vision of your army, which is extremely important. That way they can't catch you on siege as easily. I also do forward scouting with the Hellions so I can see where his roaches are and siege up my tanks in time. As you can see, I've got a nice impenetrable wall of siege tanks right there. Also be getting a planetary right down at my 3rd because, well, that's what you do as Terran. One thing I screwed up in this game is I got a little bit lax on my upgrades. So you'll want to get another armory right now and pump out 2-1. So now he tries to engage, but the siege line is quite large. The Hellions do a great job tanking damage for my siege tanks, and the Thors clean up the mutas quite easily, as you can see at the rear there. So a really strong composition until he gets on Hive, I'd say. Something I don't think I gave enough credit to in my last video, so I do apologize for that. After experimenting with the strategy a bit more, it seems to have quite a bit of effectiveness versus a Zerg that doesn't get that Hive quite so fast. And now that I've got up that solution to the Hive tech, we'll see how that goes later. So basically at this point my main goal is to just get him in a nice contain, make it so he can't bust out, while keeping my bases somewhat safe. But you'll notice the mutalisk count is very low right now because he sacked them all, and I managed to kill a bunch when he was harassing. So I don't really have to worry too much about those Thors anymore to defend against them. And I'll just constantly be pumping units here. You can see on the black screen at the bottom center there that I do switch back to my factory reasonably often, just so I can keep on top of that. I'll also be sacking the Hellions to take out a bunch of drones, just so he can't macro up again and get an army to kill me. The Thors are also imperative to keep alive because they're your only anti-air right now. So to try and be somewhat more careful than I was here and let them get caught out of position there. If they were by the tanks, I wouldn't have lost that one Thor unnecessarily. One thing I suggest you do, which I'm doing right now, is bringing some SCVs down to auto-repair all your mech units. One of the greatest advantages of mech, obviously, is that you can repair them. And so, by doing that, I'm going to essentially extend the lifetime of my units so much more, make them so much more cost efficient that way.
Mineral field.
I'll also be scanning once again to check for his hive, because I know that once I see that hive, I need to get a bunch of starports up to match his tier 3 tech with that of my own. And now that I have my tanks in a nice line there with Thor and Hellion support, I've pretty much won this game, and I'm quite confident that I can win it. Especially because of the fact that I have 3 bases, even if he has 4, which I don't even know. I didn't even look at the replay. He might have that gold base down at the 11 o'clock position, and if he does, it's something you'd obviously want to take out. But either way, you can see just how powerful this is, even if he does have a gold base. Just look at that. The siege tanks really wreak havoc anyway, and actually scores to call GG. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this cast. I certainly enjoyed playing this game. It was one of my better ladder games, I feel. And I really think this mech play is going to be something we see a lot more of in the future. I've certainly had quite a bit of success with it. And I hope you do too, and I really hope you learned something. Once again, appreciate the comments so much. They really help. The thumbs up are always great. It's just so nice to know that you are appreciating what I'm doing here and that you're learning from it. So my goal, my job is complete. And I'm so happy to be doing this. So thank you once again, all my viewers. And of course, to end with my usual line, hope to see you again for another daily dose of ownage.